Welcome, everyone, to the Traveling Pilates Teacher Podcast.
I'm Kristie, and today I'm going to be talking to you about some tips and how to be a traveling Pilates teacher. I often go into studios and fellow instructors will come up to me and ask me, well, how do you do this? Do you like it? How did you get started? I really want to do this. I love to travel. So I thought what I would do is detail some information that works for me. I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, so it's been an experience, a great experience, like an experience I wouldn't trade for anything. I'm by no means an expert on how to do things. I'm still learning as well, but I have learned a few of the basic things that I really feel I could share for somebody that is looking to start becoming a traveling instructor or thinking about becoming a traveling instructor. Before you really can get started on this journey of traveling and teaching Pilates, you really need to stop and think, are you really ready? Like, having the will and the desire to do it is definitely step one, but you need to think about, are you in a relationship? Like, are you married? Are you living with somebody? Do you have children that are still in your care that need care? Like, I have adult children. They don't need my care anymore. They're 28 and 25, so they don't need me to be, home with them. Do you have any pets that obviously need your care? Do you own a home or a townhouse, or what is your living environment like? For me, I was divorced, single, I have adult children, I didn't have any pets, I didn't even own a home. So it all kind of worked for me to do it. Now, you can still travel and have all those things, but you just may not want to travel as extensively. You may only want to be gone for a couple weeks at a time. You may want to stay in your home country. I'm from the United States, so you may just want to stay in the States, and test it out. And that's great. That's a great option. But for me, I'm like 0 to hero. Like, I just don't do things halfway. I just go all the way. So I decided to go halfway around the world and go to Morocco as my first experience in traveling. So that was fantastic. And I do talk a lot about it in my podcast in season 1. So if you want to go back and see how I enjoyed it and how it worked for me, you're welcome to go back. Actually, I would encourage you to go back to that season 1 and listen to those podcasts. But once you kind of get the physical stuff in a row, then you need to really think about the emotional part of it and the mental health part of it. You're alone, and studios may even say to you, well, we only want you coming. We're only going to accommodate and house you. So if you're thinking about like, oh, well, my husband works from home, he works remote, he can work anywhere in the world, that's great. But the studio may not house you that way. Just so you are aware of that. Most studios will accommodate or house you and only you. They really want just you there full time. So it's something to think about. So you are going to be alone. So are you comfortable being alone, traveling alone, exploring alone, eating out alone? Are you comfortable with that? And if you are, perfect. If you're not, obviously you can always adapt and learn to be good, because we do learn that it's a learned behavior. So if you're comfortable with it, or you think you want to give it a try, then try it. Again, I would probably try it on a smaller scale. Try it in your home country, or not being gone too long, because you do get a little lonely every once in a while. And but the flip side is you're traveling the world doing this. So once you kind of get over and you check those boxes of the physical, if you're physically able to, if you're mentally and emotionally able to do all that, then perfect. Then let's go on to, where are you going to even find a job to look for? So there are 2 really good Facebook pages that I pretty much found my locations from. They are Pilates Jobs International and the Traveling not the traveling, it's traveling Pilates instructors. And those are both great Facebook pages. Studios will post their needs, as well as teachers will post like an introduction of who they are and where they would like to go. I would encourage you to first kind of check those sites out, or those pages out, I should say, and see if, see what you find. And then there's also an Instagram page. It's called, or a posting site that you could look at. It's called the Sublist. I personally haven't found anything I haven't used them or found a post that worked for me from them, but it's an option. And then there's an app called Plank, and it's Planke. And that app does also the same thing that these Facebook pages do and Instagram page does, where they will, studios will post their need. You can set up a profile, which I've done as well. And it's nice. I have not found the app as useful as maybe it would sound. I feel I have my profile up and I've gotten connected with people, but the connections that I have made with them are either people that the studios it just didn't work out where I was at that time, or it didn't work out with a country or a place that maybe I would like to go. So, but those are 4 options. I think that the Facebook pages for me have worked the best, but that's me. So it took me, I would say probably like 6 months to a year of me just kind of stalking these pages and seeing, like kind of coming up with a list of places that I'd be willing to go. And I'll be quite honest with you, I'm pretty much willing to go anywhere. There are a couple hard no's for me that I really won't mention, but just for personal reasons, I'm not going to go to those places. I don't have an interest in going to those places, but they're very few, and mostly for safety reasons, because I am traveling alone. I am a female. I'm only 5'2". I'm not a larger human, so I really have to take into consideration my safety, and my safety is my number one concern. So there's just a few places I won't consider going, but it's nice to see what's out there, what people are looking for, and it comes all over the gamut. I mean, you've got people that want you there for just a day to they want you there for 2 years, and it can be just an hour away from your place of living, or it could be halfway around the world. So just check it out, see what's out there, maybe make a list of places that you're like, hey, I really want to go here, or make a list of places where, nope, that's a hard pass for me. So make those lists things, start thinking about what you want to do, putting your life in order to prepare yourself for this. And what I mean by that is, I started getting rid of things, and I literally sold, donated, threw away everything that I owned except for a small, very small amount of stuff. I took 3 suitcases with me overseas, and then I put some stuff into a very small storage unit, and that storage unit was like a 5x5. In fact, I'm doing this podcast driving with all my storage unit contents in a minivan, so it all fit in the minivan, literally, from my home studio in Chicago, Illinois, to where I'm going back to in Alabama for a job. So just so you know, I prepared myself by just getting rid of everything. I just didn't want to hold on to anything. I didn't want to have that permanent place that I felt like I had to go back to. I didn't have a home that I had to go back to. So get that in order. Then after you get that in order, do a little bit of stalking, see where you want to go. Then if you find a place that you really want to reach out to, I encourage you, reach out to them, see what happens. You're going to be one of hundreds, just so you know, but you're like that in any job. You're one of hundreds, or maybe there's 50 other people. So just know that, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and it's going to work out for you. I reached out to a woman in Morocco. I would have never thought like my first gig outside of Chicago, Illinois is going to be Morocco, the country. But it worked out lovely. And how it worked out was I reached out via, I think, Facebook. We might have done the Plank app. I'm not sure. We kind of did both. So I reached out to her, and she then set up an interview with me. We did 2 or 3 phone interviews. One included like a FaceTime interview because I just wanted to see her face. I'm sure she wanted to see my face too, and make sure that, the face matched the voice, and, I wasn't talking to somebody imposing as a studio owner, and she was not, and neither was I, and I'm sure she wanted that justification as well. But we just hit it off. I just felt like we had a really good connection even over the phone. I mean, she did speak English, but her first 2 languages were Arabic and French, and English was her third language. And English is really the only language that I'm fluent in. I do speak a little bit of French, but not good where I can teach Pilates in French. Like, that's not going to happen. It could happen, but I could probably tell somebody to, lift the wrong body part because I can't speak French that fluent. So we communicated through English, and it worked out well. And then after our communication and we kind of set up some parameters, it worked out and I flew over. But what I've learned in that experience is I just kind of let her take the lead, and then I just kind of showed up. But now that I've done more jobs outside of that, I've learned a few things. And so what I've learned is always have a contract. And I don't necessarily make the contracts. I set like requirements that I send over to the studio owner, and then the studio owner will make the contract based on my requirements. Now, you have to decide, are your requirements negotiable or they're not negotiable? To me, some things that are not negotiable are, I need housing, and I need you as the studio owner to find it, and I need you to pay for it. Because I don't know that area, so I don't know if I'm ending up in a safe place or not a safe place. I, again, always want to be safe. That's my priority. So I will not jeopardize my safety for a job. So that's why I need the studio owner, because they know the area. They know, oh, you should stay here. I wouldn't, like, if they're not willing to stay there, I don't want to stay there either. So I need accommodations. And in those accommodations, I need a few things. I need the basics, like I need sheets on the bed. I need towels to bathe with. I need plates and dishes and, whatever else you feel like you need. When I landed in Morocco, I didn't realize that I was staying in, yes, a furnished apartment, but some of the things that you would think, like towels, were not included in the apartment. So thankfully, when I landed in Morocco, there was another instructor there. Her name was Rena. I did do a podcast with her. So if you've not heard that podcast, it's season 1. I believe it's episode 3. She laid the foundation for me going into Morocco. She was fantastic. I learned a lot from her. I spent 5 days with her. But when she arrived in Morocco, there was not those basic things in that apartment. And she had to go out and buy towels and some dishes and things that you would think would be in a furnished apartment. They just weren't there. So thankfully she took care of that. It was a blessing to have her there before me, because she not only furnished the apartment the way that we needed to live, but she also showed me the ropes about where to go and how to get to the studio and places. So it really would worked out well. But make sure you have those basic things that you need and make a list. I literally will put in my list, I need bath towels, I need some washcloths, I'd like some hand towels. I have to put that in there. Like, I need sheets, I need pillowcases, which sounds very nitpicky in particular, but when you don't have them and you've just flown for like 36 hours to get somewhere, there's nothing worse than like, all I want to do is take a shower, but I can't because I don't have a towel. Just think of those things. And then once you have that, also in your place, you might want to think about, do you want Wi-Fi or not? Some people may not. They just want to completely unplug. Me, I wanted Wi-Fi. We did not have Wi-Fi in our apartment, but we had Wi-Fi at the studio. And if I had my choice, I would have done it the other way around, because I feel like, when you're at home and you're kind of just on the couch, you'd like to answer emails or do something on your laptop. Well, you don't have internet access or Wi-Fi. That really limits what you can do. We had Wi-Fi at the studio, so I could get some stuff done there, but it's not the same after you've taught all day and you want to come home and just sit on the couch and just relax but answer emails. It's not the same sitting on a reformer, because yes, we love our reformers. Yes, they're great, but we want to make sure that they are comfortable, and it's not very comfortable to answer emails with. So think about that as accommodations. And then also think about like the work that you're going to be doing at the studio. Obviously, you're going to be teaching Pilates. That's obvious. But is it mat Pilates? Is it reformer Pilates? Is it both? Are you going to be doing private lessons? Are you going to be working with the Cadillac, with the ladder barrel? Maybe you're working with the tower. What types of machines are you working with? Personally, I love Balance Body. I think Balance Body, to me, is my favorite. So there's another brand that I really don't care for. I won't mention it, but I don't really want to work in a studio when I have to work with just that brand, because it's just not a brand that I enjoy being on as a client. So I really don't enjoy teaching on it as well. Think about those things. So ask those questions. What types of machines do you have? How many machines do you have? What are your group classes like? What are the times? What is the schedule? Am I keeping the schedule? Can I modify this schedule? And then also think about private lessons. Do you have private lessons that I'm going to be taking over? What happens if a client approaches me and wants to do private lessons? Is the pay rate going to be the same for the private lessons as the pay rate from the classes? In the States, we have what's considered intro classes, and they're shorter. Is the pay the same, or is the pay different for those intro? Do you even have them? Would you like to do them? And so you need to really think about your teaching too, and what are you getting paid for? And then agree upon a salary. You need to be paid. You're there to do a job. Yes, they're giving you accommodations, but that's a package part of it. So it's not, to me, it's not either or. I'm not either getting paid but not getting housing, or I'm getting housing but not getting paid to teach. To me, you're getting paid to do a job. They need you. You need a job. You need to get paid for it. So you need to agree upon a price. Now, I can't tell you what the price is. Prices are going to vary, but know your worth. Know your experience. Know what type of teacher you are. Know what your range of teaching is. Are you a teacher that really is a little bit slower, that, really moves them a little bit slower? When I say concentrate on form, I feel like we all concentrate on form, or maybe we should all concentrate on form. But, there are some teachers that really are not tough. They won't push you, but they'll move you. And that's great. I'm the opposite. I will push you. I will definitely concentrate on your form, and what is the studio looking for? What's the average that you're replacing for? So are they looking for that teacher that maybe moves a little bit slower, and maybe a little bit wanting to just focus on moving the body? Or are you the teacher that's going to get a little bit of a harder push, and that's what they're needing? So whatever that need is, you have to think about your teaching. You have to think about the studio. And with the studio too, what are the requirements besides teaching? Because there might be some requirements besides teaching. When I was in Morocco, I had to do the desk, and I had to check people in. I had to schedule the classes. I took payments for the classes, and had to work the credit card machine, and their currency is different than our currency in the United States. So I had to figure out the change of the currency, which it can be a little bit challenging when you're just 2 days into being in this country and you got to make change. It's a little challenging. It's good exercise for the brain, but just think about those things. And then, are there other requirements for you inside of cleaning the studio? How do you want the studio reset? I'm a strong believer in when, as the instructor, you leave the studio the way that you want it set up for either the next day or for that next teacher. How do you want to walk into the studio and see it? Me personally, I don't want to walk in start my day in a messy studio with like magic circles everywhere and the bender ball places. Like I want it all put away nice and neat. But I also don't want to clean the studio. Like I can do it, of course, but after teaching 6-7 hours, I don't want to clean the bathroom. I don't want to clean the floor. And so does the studio have a service that comes in and cleans, or are you responsible for that? And you need to know that up front, because I teach sometimes, I can teach as little as 1, 2, 3 classes a shift, or I can teach as many as 9, 10 classes a shift. It just depends on the need. And if I'm on that ladder scale and I'm teaching, 6, 7, 8, 9 classes, to have to stop then and then clean the studio, like wash floors, bathrooms, it's just a lot for my body. And I don't think that I want to do that. So just get all of those, what's required from you at the studio, down in an agreement and in the contract in writing. And then you've got transportation. When you get to the country or state or wherever you are, and if you're in your home country and you're bringing your car, you got your transportation. But if you are going to a different location and you did not bring a form of transportation with you because you flew, halfway around the world, then how will you get to the studio? Is there, a bus? Is there public transportation? Do you have to get a taxi cab? Can you walk? What's your option there? Me personally, I prefer to walk, and I'm willing to walk up to 30 minutes one way. Now, that's great, and I love it. It's a great way to start your day, and when you're leaving the studio, it's a great way to decompress from the day. But I don't really want to walk in the rain. I don't want to walk in snow or any other kind of bad weather. I also don't want to walk at night by myself. So what's my other option then? Is there another way? Like, can I take a cab or a train or a bus? And so what are those options? Because not every country, which I discovered, has Uber or has anything like that. So you have to really think about it. So put that in there. How am I going to get to and from the studio, and who's going to pay for it? So if it's a bus ticket you have to get, or a monthly train pass, who's paying for that? Because again, you're put there. This is your job. You need them. They need you. Me personally, I think it's a 50-50 split. So that's what I put in there. And then on the means of transportation, how are you even going to get to the first location from your permanent residence? So I like to do, again, a split, a 50-50 split. So if I have to fly somewhere, I will book a one-way ticket to that location, and then that studio owner will split that one-way ticket with me. What I like to do is I like to then when I finish that job, I'll go to another job. And when I go to that other job, then that route from A to B will get paid for halfway with that other studio owner, that new studio owner. So if I can get the studio that I'm going to pay half of my plane ticket, I think that that's great. I also know other traveling teachers that they drive and they stay within the United States. They will get mileage, and that's great too, because that kind of gives you that 50-50 split. And then two, before you even go, which I should have said this maybe a little bit beginning, I got a little ahead of myself. Do a couple things. First, strongly think that you need to check out where you're going. So if you've never been to this location, whether it's in your country or it's in a country, it's in your country but just a different location, check out where you're going. And don't just check out things to do. Like, that's great, do check those out, but think about like safety. Is it a safe place for you? Is it a safe place as a traveling teacher or a traveling solo? A lot of us are traveling. We're females. Yes, there are men I know that travel, but for safety reasons, I'm really kind of thinking about the females. Is this a safe place for you to be as a solo female traveler? And yeah, you can look on the internet. It's going to give you some status or some statistics, and that's great. But there are so many podcasts about females traveling solo, good and bad. Look and see if these people have done a podcast on where you're going and what their opinion of it was. Did they feel safe? Did they feel not safe? And what were their tips and stuff? So, because you're going to go into a country where you don't know anybody, and besides the studio owner, and the studio owner, like my studio owner, she had a baby. So she was focused on this baby. She certainly wasn't, she was focused on me, and she would check in on me, and that was really kind. But her main priority was having a baby and recovering from having her first baby. So, she thought I was good once I got there, and I was, so there was no problem. But do some safety checks. And then also, most important too, is the visa. Most countries, you're going to need a visa to get into. And so, what are the requirements? Now, I had a negative experience, so hopefully you can learn from my negative experience. I had set up with a country to go to them, and I was going to be there for a year. I had 2 studios I was going to work with, and I was more than excited to go because this country was on my bucket list, and it was just really a great place for me to go. And I talked to the studio owner, and she said, oh, the visa is just $25. As soon as you get off the plane, you just fill out some forms, and you have a year visa for $25. And I was like, great, that is going to be wonderful. Well, I don't know why I thought of this, but something in my brain, maybe it was the universe speaking to me, maybe it was God speaking to me, I'm not sure, one of the two, it popped into my brain, you need to look into this visa a little deeper. And so I did, and I unfortunately learned that $25 get off the plane visa is for a certain age group on a holiday work visa. Well, I was above that certain age group, and didn't work for me. So the price difference was astronomical. It went from $25 to $2,800. So I went to the studio owner and I said, listen, I'm over this age group, and I don't want to pay $2,800 for this working visa. And will you pay for this, or will you split this with me? And so she said, let me do some more research. And what happened on her end was, oh, well, not only do you have to pay the $2,800 as the person coming in, but I, as the studio, have to sponsor you at $10,000. So it just didn't work out because she didn't want to have to pay the $10,000. I didn't want to have to pay the $2,800. And I already bought my plane tickets. I was ready to go. And so I just was not only devastated, but really mad, not at the studio owner, but kind of at myself for not doing that homework. So do check out that visa first before you get that contract signed or before you make that full commitment, because work visas, you may need a work visa because if you're getting paid through any kind of documentation like a W-2 like we have in the United States, you're going to need a work visa. Now, if you get paid cash, you probably don't need a work visa. When I went to Morocco, I just came in on a tourist visa and I got paid cash. So that was great. I didn't have to go through the whole work visa process. So you have to figure out, all of those things because there's different ways of doing it. And you just need to make sure you've done your homework. That's the most important thing. Do your homework on the visas. Do your homework on the safety as well. And then back to getting there, you've got your homework done. You've gotten there. And once you get there, a couple things. First, give yourself some time. And what I mean by that is your body is going through a lot. Your mind may be like, this is great. Let's get going. Let's just explore. But give your body some time to recover from the flight. Recover from when I land here, I don't speak the language. I didn't speak Arabic and I didn't speak French. And that's what I'm hearing. And I'm hearing different things. I'm seeing things. I can't read any signs because they're all in Arabic. I don't know how to read Arabic. So, I'm seeing different things. I'm also seeing things, I'm used to houses in the United States that look a certain way. I mean, obviously they all look a little bit, obviously every house is different, but they're a basic structure. I've got the basic structure of a house in the United States. And, when you go into a country that I've never been to a Muslim country, it's very different. So I'm seeing things that are really different. I'm tasting foods that are very different ingredients that are used. Even the way that, our fruits and vegetables in the United States are grown, I should say, not raised, but grown differently than they are in Morocco. So tasting things are different. Even though it's a strawberry, it tastes a lot different in Morocco than it does in the United States. So things like that are happening. So your body is kind of going through a little bit of a shock. For me, it takes me about 4 to 5 days, depending on the length of travel, to kind of get used to a new country. So take those 4 or 5 days, unpack, relax, get some sleep, get acquainted to where you're going, get acquainted to the studio, start to meet those people that you're going to be as your new members, as your new clients. Just take that time to really just relax, settle into where you are, and recover. Once you've done that, then enjoy it. I mean, explore. Don't just stay in your city that you're teaching in. Explore the country as much as you can. When I was in Italy, I was in Naples, and I thought, I got to get out of here. And I did. I went to the Amalfi Coast, and oh my gosh, it was beautiful. And those of you that have been there know how beautiful it is. And what I did realize, and it is something you have to think about, along with travel, it's great, but you're alone. So I was in, like I said, Naples, went to the Amalfi Coast. When I was in Amalfi Coast, I went to Sorrento, and I just spent a beautiful afternoon in Sorrento. I was sitting in this wonderful cafe having this great lunch, and I'm looking out at the water, and I was like, this is so beautiful. And I loved it, but I was also alone. And so you have to think about that. Like, there will be periods of time where you're alone. So, how are you going to handle that? So just think about that as well, but don't let that be the reason you don't travel. Because when I was in Morocco, I traveled up and down that country, and it was fantastic. And I was alone, and I was, I don't speak those two languages of Arabic and French, but I got by and I did it, and it was great. And, again, always think about your safety, but you always have that adventure. And what that adventure will give you and what those experiences will give you, no one can ever take it away from you. So make sure that you do travel and you do experience those countries. And then the last little bit that I want to give to you is, two little bits. They probably should have mentioned it before, but they're just coming into my head now. One is you need to figure out how you're going to communicate with people back home. People back home want to know that you're safe. So are you going to be, is it just email? Is it a phone? Like, I needed to have a phone. I mean, I'm in 2025 right now. So 2025, we need phones. And you need a phone that works. And in the United States, I have Verizon, and that's one of the biggest ones, I believe. I don't know if it's the best or not, but it's one of the biggest ones. They have an international plan that you can pay for per month. And that international plan worked fantastic for about 90 days. And then at day 90, almost to the day, the international plan experienced a glitch of some sort, and it was down for 4 days. So for 4 days, nobody could get a hold of me. I couldn't get a hold of them, and nobody knew it was coming. Like, it was like cut off completely. And I'm a mother, and I'm sure it put my mother into a tailspin, which it would have done for me if it was my children. So you have to equate for, like, well, what are you going to do if this happens? Thankfully, I could go to the studio and I could turn on my laptop and I could email everybody saying, this is what happened and I'm fine. But you do need to think about, how are you going to communicate when you're over there? And, a lot of people, their option is get a SIM card, which is a great option. But when you get that SIM card, I did that. I went actually to their phone company and bought a SIM card from the phone company versus like some random person on the street. And when I went to get my SIM card installed, the phone company in Morocco, they couldn't help me. And then I called Verizon when I got back to my apartment trying to figure this out, and it didn't work. So some SIM cards are not going to be compatible to your phone. I had an Apple 15, which at the time was the latest version that they had, and they just weren't compatible. Those SIM cards were built for a little bit older version, so it just didn't work. And Verizon couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out, and neither could this phone company figure it out. So think about, again, how you're going to communicate, what are your options, and make sure you have more than one way of communicating. And then secondly, think about currency. When I was in Morocco, it's a closed currency. So I couldn't go there with already their money. And then when I went there, this is the craziest thing. I couldn't get their money either. Like I couldn't go, they don't have like currency places like other countries do. You had to be a resident in order to get currency. So in order to change currency, because I came with US dollars, not a lot, but I came with US dollars and they couldn't change it with me because I wasn't a current resident. So as a little bit of a, what do I do now? But thankfully, my studio owner, she kind of prepaid me and paid me a little bit in advance. And then I asked her to give me some of their currency, and it all worked out. But something to think about, because again, when you land, you're going to be hungry and you're going to want to get something to eat. And I used my Visa literally for everything because my Visa doesn't have transaction fees. So I used it for everything. And that was great because I could even just like go down to the local McDonald's and get some fries and be fine with that and put $3 on my Visa. But it's something to think about. You've got to have money wherever you go. So those are my tips and those are my stories. I hope that they were a little bit helpful for you. Just to recap, make sure you do the prep work of, are you ready for this physically, mentally, emotionally? Once you are, and that is a yes, then get onto those pages on Facebook or Instagram or that app and kind of do a little bit of prep work of where you think you may want to go, and then reach out. And then when you make a contact and you make a connection, like this is where I want to go, this is going to make sure this works, then make sure you have those contracts signed before you go, and make sure you have everything that you feel you need to go. And you may have other things that I'm not thinking of, but you need them. Just write it all down and send it over to them. And then when you get there, give yourself some time to relax and then enjoy it. Because again, this is such a rewarding, fruitful career. I never thought, 10 years ago that I would be traveling the world and enjoying what I do, loving what I do, and really seeing parts of the world that I may have never even thought to see before. So enjoy it, because again, this experience will never be taken away from you. No one can take that from you. So enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And if you have any other further questions, or if you need some clarification on something, always feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me a variety of ways, via Instagram, via Facebook. I've got a website that allows for comments or questions. Everything's on the Traveling Pilates Teacher. So just follow those little words anywhere you go, and I would be happy to answer any questions or clear anything up for you. So thank you for listening to the Traveling Pilates Teacher. Until next time.